So you know the show Cheers? One of the characters was Kelsey Grammer, and he left the show Cheers, and I guess for some reason they started Frasier, where he just goes to Seattle and becomes a talk show host. It has nothing to do with
Oh,
Cheers, and no one is in it from
it was
Cheers.
a spin-off from Cheers?
Yeah, well, the spinoff is that his character was in Cheers, and then he left the show, and then the show has nothing to do with Cheers ever again.
But it's the same character.
It's just Kelsey Grammer's character, but he's the same from the show, but he left Cheers and moved across the country.
But it's like in the same continuity, like you have the same name and everything.
Yeah, I think actually they might like mention them at some point, but it's the same character. Yes, it is a direct spin-off, but it has zero relation to it, and it's a completely different show, and you would never know if you just watched Frasier.
That's completely insane. I had no idea.
Yeah, dude, it's elite. But anyway, I was talking about Brendan Fraser because I rewatched The Mummy and The Mummy Returns the other day, and they hold up really well, dude. I was like, modern action kind of sucks dick. Action
Yeah,
movies.
yeah, it does.
Mummy was dope, dude. And there was this cool thing where in The Mummy 2, he's like married to the girl, and like after every scene, they would just start making out, and it was really cool, dude. Like they'd like kill a bunch of mummies, and like they'd both be in mortal danger, and then they'd like live the fight, and he'd like grip her, and this like romantic music would start playing, and he'd like dip her and kiss her on the mouth, and they would just focus on it for like 5 straight seconds, and I was like, dude, this movie rules. This guy loves his wife.
That's great.
Yeah. They also don't have like the dumb bullshit Marvel humor where they're like that just happened. It's just he's just always like saying cool stuff and like doing cool things. There's also a scene I had to rewind and watch again because they're chasing a guy. I think it's in the Mummy One. They're like chasing a guy that's like that like betrayed him, and he chases him into a room, and it's this really cool thing where it's like this small squirrely guy with a really shitty penciled mustache, and chase him into a room, and Brendan Fraser walks in. He's like walking. It's like a sort of a reverse on the trope like Michael Myers thing because this guy is like squirrely and running around trying to get away, and then Brendan Fraser walks in and he's like bigger than him and strong, and he picks up like a wicker chair with one hand and like whips it at him and knocks the guy to the ground with the chair. That's just it. That's like how he stops him in the room. He just whips
That's
a chair
great.
at him. I'm recording, by the way.
Oh, cool.
I just figured I'd start with that. I want to talk about the Mummy, but not at all. What I want to talk about is Smash Brothers, the video game, Super Smash Brothers. So I wanted to talk about it because I've been seeing some discourse lately. But before we get into that, I want to talk about how our little bit of history with it, because I think we've talked about this briefly on the podcast before. But we haven't talked about our roots in it and why I think we might have better standing than some people. So very briefly, when Smash for Wii U came out, um, I just think I asked you if you wanted to go to a tournament with me. I'm not sure exactly how I got you involved. I might have asked if like anyone wanted to, and you said yeah, and you started playing on your DS, and we went to a tournament in Reading, PA, called Atlantic Extravaganza, and I had a blast at that tournament.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
My first ever tournament was cool because we didn't know what was going on, and we just entered and didn't care about anything. We were just going to have fun, have a good time. We met some cool people. I still remember. Well, I'm not sure if they were cool, but I remember that they told me they were in like a crew. For some reason, a lot of Smash people like are in their own made up crews, and they were the League of Extraordinary Gamers. Do you remember that?
I don't remember
Uh,
that. That's
I
that's pretty cool.
I don't know why I remember that, but they told me that was like their LXG was like their these guys that we met, and they're actually they're like decent people. But we went, we had fun. It was in like an old church, and I think there was like Melee Brawl and Smash for Wii U, and we just had a good time. And we went, and then we bailed, and it was like a pretty bigger one, honestly. There was probably like 200 people there or something, and since we were just getting into it, I remember Boss was there as like like a bigger name guy. I can't remember anyone else really that was there. I only
Yeah, I
remember he
remember
was there because I took a picture of him because he fell asleep and he looked really funny sitting in a chair.
that. Oh yeah, I remember that.
And
Yeah, Law was there. I remember I lost to
yes,
Law.
yes, I remember that too. But so that was like our first tournament, and then like a couple weeks later, I was like, oh, there's got to be something like closer, and we looked up a tournament that ended up being in. You didn't come to this one, but me and Bone Tree went, and it ended up being a tournament in East Stroudsburg or whatever, and it was the one that Uchi ran at the time. That guy Uchi, and it was whatever the fuck it was called, whatever they were calling it back then, and it was horrible. So my experience with them from the start was just dog shit. It was super packed. Something that I've always said that I've hated about Smash tournaments is they're not like newbie friendly. Like we go in and everyone's like really clicky and they don't have social skills, so like no one talked to us. We didn't know anyone there, and we just sort of like played our games and left. And like you try to talk to people, but it's like pulling teeth trying to get them to have a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because they can't really interact great. But my point being more so with like not newbie friendly is like after we got into it, a lot of like TOs and organizers and people complain like, oh, we can't. Ben specifically would always complain, oh, dude, I remember like he had a list of like over the course of a season that they're tracking, they had like 150 unique entrants. But like, each event would average like 10 to 30, So it's like, he was like, oh, why aren't we capturing this? And all I could think of is like, because you don't fucking do any work to do it. You don't like see a new person come in and say, hey man, grab a seat over here, play some warm-up rounds. Like there's 15 people at your tournament, dude. You could take some time to like say hi to the new guy. You know what I mean? Get him, make him want to stay. What happens now is you come, every setup is completely filled. They get to play their first game of the tournament against some guy who completely thrashes them because there's no seating, obviously, and he gets seated last because they don't know who he is. He gets completely thrashed, and then the argument is, oh well, it'll inspire him to want to work harder to get better. And I was like, that's extremely dumb. But then they never come back. They have a horrible experience and they never come back. And I remember recently too, I had a big problem with it where a person their first time in a Smash tournament was at, I think it was Bears or the Lab or whatever the fuck that bitch ass one is, and they made them. It was like a big deal because they were like clout farming it because they for some reason made him play a level 9 Kazuya or whatever in tournament, and he lost to them. And I was like, I actually don't think the kid has gone back, maybe one time. And I was like, what an awful first time experience for this guy. And he was like a good sport about it, right? But I'm like, he doesn't have to be, right? Why would you do this to a new player? Like, it's really dumb. But so like we went to that tournament, it sucked, and then there was another one, Snag in whatever. It was like an hour north of us, and I went to that a handful of times, and they were also very like, I was an outsider. They didn't like me, and like right off the bat, and like I would try and make friends. A couple of people were cordial, but mostly like we did not converse. They didn't like the people I brought or people I went with or whatever. It's some dumb bullshit. But we didn't really like form a bond, even though I went to their tournaments like often. I was driving an hour to go to it. Then after a while, I was like, I don't like doing this, and we decided to start our own. So we did it just in our apartment. We started. Well, the first one we did was at a bar, and it was called Bird Sanctuary. And then we decided after just do it in our apartment because it was too much work to do it in a bar, and you couldn't. And so we just did it in our apartment, and it was Cat Sanctuary from then on. And how many? I think you did. I had stopped like helping or even hosting it there around like, I don't know, 50 or something like that. I had moved out. But you ran it for like, I don't know, how many, 4 years or something like that?
Like 4 years, yeah. We had 200 weeklies.
Yeah.
So ran it for a very long time. We outlasted a lot of other tournaments. The Snag that you were talking about, they were very adversarial toward our tournament.
Yes. I remember often they would. Yeah, they're extremely adversarial, and this is another thing that people talk about in growing communities. And I, I hesitate to say like, oh, people will push back if you say, well, that's not the entire community, that's just your community. I'm like, no, it's literally everywhere I've ever gone. They do this. For some reason, the Snag people in the north were like the main tournament, in the area, and they were like, they hated us. They wouldn't count our results on any like people's when they were doing like PR lists and any type of list, they wouldn't count ours, and they were like, oh, not everyone can go there because you have a cat or whatever. They make up some dumb rules. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, sure, if you have a cat allergy, but also there's tons of people that just don't go, and they also just like it doesn't like it's you should still count the results, even though it's like, oh, this guy can't go. It's like, well, the rest of the people like can. Anyway, it
Yeah, it
doesn't
doesn't
like
mean the game didn't get played and that there aren't results that could matter toward a ranking
yeah.
system. It's very dumb excuses. And just for the record, Snag was shut down. It stands for Smash Night at Adventure Games. Snag. Adventure Games is shut down because the owner, Sean Mancuso, was convicted of forcing a 14-year-old girl to perform a sex act.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he abused that girl for like a decade straight, and then the people that would run the tournaments at Snag would pretend like they had nothing, they'd never knew, they had nothing to do with it. So this all just speaks to how every single level of Smash Brothers tournament, from like we've all heard about the top players are all like so many of them have been accused of
Yeah.
horrible sexual depravity and like awful shit, but it goes all the way down to the local level because like these events attract children and that attracts pedophiles and these people are all scumbags. It's
Yeah. And
it happens at every level of the scene.
literally top to bottom. Zero is a classic predator. He was the best of all time in Smash 4, and then it came out that he was doing heinous things and asking underage girls for nudes and showing them porn and asking them to touch themselves and stuff like that. And that's the highest level, obviously. But we even a friend of ours, I'm not going to name them now, but a friend of ours, I can tell you right now.
Yeah, he
What?
came out. He came out on Twitter and said what happened to him. So it's not like he keeps it a secret. I don't know
Oh,
what you're gonna
really?
say.
Okay. You're talking about S-Bane?
Yeah, yeah. F-Bane, one of
Okay.
the first players to come to
Yeah.
our
Okay.
apartment.
So
Or even
so this was so yes, we were running our tournament in our apartment, and we were promoting it on Facebook. I actually printed out flyers and put them around the city, to try and promote it. And one of the people hit us up on Facebook. He's like, "Can I come?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." This is actually, I love pointing stuff like this out because it's so funny to me how simple it is, how easy it is for these things to happen, but and how simple it is to not do them. So I am a little bit older than most people. We started the tournament and I was like 25 or 26. I think I'm about 10 years older than most of the people in the scene. I'm 33 right now, and a kid hit us up. His name was S-Bane, and he said, "Hey, can I come to your tournament or whatever?" He's like, "But I don't have a ride." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, I could pick you up, I guess. Like, do you want me, like, where do you live?" Blah blah. He told me like where I could pick him up. It was like a gas station near his house. And then he was like, "Oh, I'm like 16," and I was like, "Oh, like just make sure like your family's cool with this, right?" I never like heard back from them or anything, but I picked him up at like a gas station and drove him like 30 minutes to our tournament and took him back and stuff like that. But it's like, easy, like there's so many bad people in Smash that could have easily taken advantage of this. And this is like a young kid. And we had, I mean, obviously I've never done anything to him or whatever. And he's I would consider him a friend of mine for a long time. We don't really talk anymore because I'm not in the Smash scene, but I don't think he is either. But, we were close for a while. I would take him to the other tournament, to Snag from that was like an hour and 20 from his place. I would drive from us 20 minutes to him, an hour 20 to Snag, drop him off, come home. It was like an entire day fucking ordeal driving everyone around. They also don't have any cars because they're all broke, and they also don't want to pay $5 to enter a tournament because they're all broke. And but I mean, they're young kids that like the game, and they are around people who have opportunities to take advantage of them, and then people just do. And there's no one in the scene, like you and I, who would step in and say, "Yeah, you can't be doing things like that." And then when we'd get ostracized by places like Snag that would tear us down or say we have no say in the community. And then they are running their place out of a store that is owned by a predator. So S-Bane,
Convicted predator.
convicted predator, like legitimate predator.
He's in prison right now.
Yeah. And so S-Bane, he starts coming to the tournaments. We get a couple more people going and things like that. And then he's actually very talented at the game, and he would beat some people above his skill level, and he would consistently perform well. And he, got the attention of some other people, and he had, I don't know the entire story, but he opened up to me about it after the fact. And he had said that he went to At the time, a more prolific player, I believe his name was Blue.
Yeah,
He was
from
in,
Leap of Faith,
yeah,
LOF Blue.
LF Blue,
He
yeah.
also has False, Keitaro, all big names in the scene. Big
We're
names.
in Leap of Faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Blue was in it. He was a higher tier player. Somehow Esbane connected with him via Facebook Messenger or whatever. He had spent the night at their house for Smash stuff, and the next day, Esbane messaged us that Blue had taken advantage of him. Um, and it's just so sad to see. This was someone we knew. I obviously had. There's nothing we could even do about it at that point. It was he'd reached out and hung out with them completely, regardless of us. But it was something that was. It's just pervasive. It's someone that we know that has had happen to them at the smallest scale. I mean, our tournaments usually sometimes had 5 people at them and maxed out at about 30.
Yeah, I think the most I ever had was 40 people.
Yeah, so it's like very, very low level stuff, and you'll still see it. They're everywhere in this community. I don't know if I mean, I have to hope that they're not consciously saying, oh, this is a great area to attract young people, but I just think that they're around them a lot, and young people aren't smart enough or mature enough to understand how to handle the situation when they're pressured into it by an older person with clearly horrible intent.
Oh, just a quick side note. Blue, at one point, he worked for Zero. Zero employed him as his personal chef, and
Interesting.
they lived together and stuff like that. Zero didn't want to have to think about what to eat, so he would just pay Blue to cook for him. So he was Zero's employee, probably under the books. There's probably no paper trail on this,
Mm-hmm.
but it is a fact, and it just goes to show that Zero being the greatest player, mathematically speaking, in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, uh, was just as bad as everyone else in the scene
Yeah.
could be.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
he hurt
that's the,
himself with like so this man like legitimately tried to rape our friend. Like it's very extreme the behavior.
yeah. It was
So you seem
he
to think that it's blown out of proportion. It's a huge fucking deal.
Yeah, we're
It's
not
ridiculous.
talking about there's situations that sometimes are a person was vocally harassed me or was very overly flirtatious in a way that I didn't like, and that's still bad. But what we're saying is in this scenario, Esbane was taken advantage of in a physical way, and it's just horrible. So I mean, you get this, you have this stuff in these scenes where they aren't friendly to new people as far as the game goes, and then it's the entire community is filled with pedophiles all over the place. And we have even more stories about this we're going to get into. But so we run this tournament. I had done it for about a year. You had done it for about 3 more after I was no longer living there, and I attended some after that, but I didn't really run it. And so but here's the thing, like when we went to the first like big time one we went to after that, I think it was like in Apex 2016 or something like that. You remember?
Yeah.
Was that the one? I think it was. But this is what I want to bring up. This is the main crux of it. I've been seeing a lot of discourse online that like TOs, tournament organizers, for people that don't know, are complaining that it's a thankless job. You can't make a living out of it in Smash. People don't help you out. They don't do enough. You provide a lot for the community, you get nothing in return, blah, blah, blah. A bunch of bitch made shit. And all I just want to say for that is that I don't think TOs do enough. I think that they rest on their laurels. And the first thing that I'm going to say is we would go to Apex 2016. We're so excited to go to a major, right? Like our first like big time. Now we're into the culture by now. We know the big name people. Like Mewtwo King was there. I was so excited to see him. He was like big in Smash 4 at the time. A bunch of other people like big name people were there. And we're excited, and we go. And we went with a huge group of people. There was like a bunch of people from all these scenes. And I remember we're all out of the tournament at some point because we weren't that good, and all the better people were there. And they were running Pokken tournament, the Pokemon weird fighting game thing. Pokken.
Yeah.
Smash Melee top 8, and then Smash Ultimate or Smash 4 top 8.
They had
Or
64 as well.
they might have been like top. Oh, did they have 64? Yeah, I guess they did. in 2016, and they had like, well, I'm not sure where that fell in the lineup, but I remember we sat down in the front row at Pokken so that we would have the front row for Smash 4 because we were really into Smash 4 at the time. And so we watched all of Pokken top 8. We watched all of, or whatever it was, top 12. I think it might have been top 8. All of Pokken, all of Melee. Ultimate rolls around, and I guess, or I keep saying Ultimate, I'm sorry, it's just recency shit. Smash 4 rolls around, and the someone got on stage. I can't remember who it was. One of the organizers of it got on stage and said the front row needs to be cleared out for cast and crew and all that and the workers and shit like that. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And obviously, like, not everyone in the entire audience moved one row back, so we got thrown like 20 rows back because we were front row and we sat there the whole time. And all the people that were, quote unquote working the event are now just suddenly sitting in the front row. And all I could think of was, not only is this a fucking gigantic slap in the face with us that we got no recompense for, is if this tournament does not need all of you to be running top 8, then what were you doing the rest of the time that it needs you? If the most important part is being run right now, right? Then, and you're not needed enough that you can sit in the front row and watch as a spectator, then what good are you for the running of this tournament anyway? And to double down on that, it's because when we first pulled up to pools, so we're very new to the scene still at the time. When we first pulled up to pools in Apex 2016, some guy just handed us a fucking clipboard and said, "Who can run this?"
Yep.
And it's been like that at most of the tournaments I go to.
Yeah, so TOs don't even organize the tournament. They pay for the venue, and they get tables and they get setups. And for those that don't know a lot about Smash, setups just means a TV, a system, and the game, and the adapter. So just like...
So you can play it, and unlocked, yeah.
That seems to be the only thing that TOs are capable of contributing, is the venue and the setups, because they didn't run the fucking tournament.
No.
I walked up to my group and remember Law from AEX, the first tournament we went to, he was the #1 seed in my group. And so the guy just literally handed him a clipboard and he was like, who's the #1 seed? Oh, you? Oh, yeah, here, you're going to run the bracket.
Yeah.
And he was confused. I don't think he ever ran a tournament before because he was confused.
Yeah.
I ended up
yes.
running the whole fucking bracket for my group.
So the exact same thing happened for me. So you and I had been like running it, and by running it, it's like, again, you don't even have to make your own bracket. So this was harder because they had them all printed out on paper. Like when we do it at our apartment, you just put the names in challenge and it bracketizes it all for you. But they literally had a bracket printed out on a piece of paper, and we didn't have a big name guy in ours. I had like the biggest guy in ours was Rock, RAWK, and he was the one that like made it out. He was like a Samus player. I'm not sure we had anyone bigger than that like in our pool, and I ran ours. I was like, you ran yours and I ran ours. I was like, I'm not getting paid for this, and then I'm also getting kicked out of my fucking seat so that people who are quote unquote running it can watch from the front row at the last minute, and we got kicked back 15, 20 rows. So that was like my first major tournament experience with TOs and what they do.
Yeah, they don't do much. It's actually despicable that they think of themselves as like a real esport on the level of like Counter-Strike or League of Legends, but they're never going to make it there.
No. Well, because here's what they do is
I'm realizing that.
They think about revenue and they think about viewership. So their biggest focus is, how does our stream look and what does our people look? Even though that's not really, you could have no stream and have an incredibly successful tournament, right? It's about, you can still take videos and clips of things there and on the system and still like have it, right? But they want to have their clique of casters, and they want to have their clique of people, and they want to give benefits to top players. Obviously top player privilege, it's a completely real thing. And they don't like, all they're doing is they're fronting the money for setups. Yes, I have to imagine they're renting them from like a company or something like that. I just don't know why, if you're a long time person that's planning to do it for years and years, you wouldn't invest in buying all of them. But we'll leave that go for now. They get.
I know that.
Yeah, there's like companies that like let them rent them and shit. But they rent setups, they rent TVs. I mean, it's because on a small scale, like even at most like lower level tournaments we've gone to that go to like 50 to 100 people, they all, or even the smaller ones like, us, I don't know if we've ever done it, but I think at like Snag and the other ones I know we've gone to, they would just say like, oh yeah, you get like discounts if you bring a full setup, TV and adapter and game and, Wii U or whatever at the time. So they like offer, it's like the TOs are just subsidizing the setup of their tournament. They'll have a very few amount of setups and they'll say, oh, Let's just hope that someone coming comes more. And what do they get for it? You don't get a TO credit or anything. You just say that even though you're doing more for it than so many people, but you just get to your $10 venue fee waived or whatever. It's like, it's very bad. And, if you don't have enough equipment to run a tournament, then don't run a tournament. That's just my entire thing. You're taking it up on yourself saying, I want to run this tournament. I'm going to put the money down for this. I'm going to put all this money down for the setups to pay for the venue, to run all this stuff. And then I'm going to just fucking complain about it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
They just, they decide to do it on their own. I'm not begging you to run a fucking tournament in New Jersey in a hotel ballroom. And like, I'm just going because you're doing it. Like you're taking it on yourself.
There's been a lot of so you kind of like separated yourself from the scene for a good while. I was pretty heavy into it. I would help run tournaments for a lot of other organizers for a long time, and I had more setups than some of these people did when they were like allegedly like supposed to be bigger and better
Mm-hmm.
tournament organizers than me in comparison. Like they were seen that way. Cause I just ran the tournament out of my apartment while they had a quote unquote venue, which was just like the back of a game shop. But I remember multiple tournaments where I would show up with, I had three Wii U's. I would bring multiple uh, lagless monitors, which is a big ask. They want these very specific types of monitors for these tournaments. But I would bring three entire setups, three copies of the game, all of that, three entire systems that I had to purchase, and until I showed up, the tournament couldn't run. It's happened multiple times to me where I would show up and I'd be like, "Oh, you guys haven't even started yet because you only have one setup until I come in with three more. What the hell's going on?" And without me, there couldn't be a tournament. So, what are you even organizing as a tournament organizer? What
Well,
are you doing?
that's the exact crux of it. I think even at a high level, they are the ones that do the leg work. I would say to get a venue, and that's pretty much it. I mean, they get a venue and they run a bracket, but everyone runs it through like Smash GG or Challenge anyway. So that part is done for you. You just put their names in and it handles the rest. It's a fucking computer, and I mean, that's it. I guess they run a stream, but there's still like most of the time, if you're a bigger name people, there's like companies that, like VG Boot Camp or whatever, that'll come out to your tournament if you're close by, and they run streams and shit like that. So you don't even have to do that. And again, like I wouldn't prioritize a streaming platform like over your tournament, right? And recently I've seen like people complain. This is like one of the ones that was blowing my mind, where on a small level, you were saying you'd bring multiple setups and they couldn't start without you because they didn't have enough. And something I've always said is what you need at tournaments, it's big and large, is cheap venue fee because everyone that goes is cheap and they don't want to pay it, or cheap entry fee or whatever, right? They don't want to pay money, and a bunch of setups because every tournament I've ever gone to has never had enough. I don't care how big or how small it is. There's never been enough for how many people you need, and so I saw someone the other day talking about how they were like, oh yeah, I took out loans or whatever. We had to get sponsorships to do this. It's so impossible to do without sponsorships because we needed $50,000+ to run this one tournament, and we made $2,000 only in profit. And I was like, you should be embarrassed to be saying this. If you're running a tournament, it's costing you $50,000. You can't do it without a sponsorship, and you're making no money. Then aren't you just saying that, well, yeah, I do it exclusively for the love of the game? Then shut the fuck up and do it. Then shut the fuck up and stop complaining. I'm so pissed off at these people that, oh yeah, I put my heart and soul into this and I get nothing out of it. And I do it every year. Okay, then do it and shut your fucking mouth. I don't get what are you complaining about then? You know what you're doing year in and year out. You know the costs you're incurring. You know how hard it is on you and that you gain no monetary value from it. So what do you gain from it? And if the love of doing it is not enough, then stop fucking doing it. I'm not gonna give you praise. Yeah.
No one asked you to run tournaments. You volunteered. This is something you chose to do.
And then
stop.
Yeah, and then exactly, then stop doing it if you hate it so much and you're not making enough money. Like don't subsidize your trying to live through me. Like I want to play the tournament. I don't even, like, because again, it's not like they're the tournament. I've never been to a tournament where like I don't even know who the organizers are. It's not like they're walking around saying, "Hey guys, hey, can I get you on a setup? You want anything? Like, how's the tournament running for you?" I never fucking see them. They're like, "Oh, I'm working behind the scenes." What are you doing? Staring at the stream probably. Everything's fucking being run by people with clipboards out on the floor anyway. Every tournament I've ever been to runs long. I never get to play until it's time to get on my thing for an official tournament game, because everyone has like these dumbass like arbitrary like unwritten rules where it's like, oh, we're on a setup and you have to ask to get into the setup and then the winner stays or whatever, but also no one tells you this. You just have to like figure it out by doing it. So the entire thing is like not inclusive. And again, I have not met these people. This is the things I always say. Oh, they're working behind the scenes. Please tell me exactly what you're doing, because there's no behind the scenes work that needs to be done at a tournament. And then the other thing is like, oh, well, there are good TOs in the scene. They run a fast tournament and a good tournament. Well, that's their fucking job. You want me to thank them for doing the thing that they decided to do on their own and invited me to? I'm not going to. If you're a good TO, great. Like I've never met a good one. I don't understand. Like, there's no, and the problem I have with this, because they always say, I would get in legit arguments about this. They'd say, oh man, like they get credit from people. There's like these people sucking up to them just because they're a TO. They do so much for this community, more than you. I was like, more than me? I legit used to drive 20 minutes away from the venue in a different direction to pick up 3 people, drive an hour and 20 minutes from there to the venue. Everyone there would forget who I was as soon as I left. Legitimately, I remember getting in arguments that they were like, we were getting arguments online with people in Snag, and they'd say, who are you? And I'd be like, I've been to like 15 of your tournaments. Like, to say, you should be embarrassed and appalled. Someone should step in and say, hey, don't, like, why are you like causing problems like within the community? Why are you saying, who are you? Like, I've placed 5th in this like 2 weeks ago, and I can point to it, and it's on your website still. And like, I would do that, drive a carpool of people there, an hour plus, drop them off and shit like that. You're telling me that I'm doing less than a TO who lives 10 minutes away, leaves the setups there when he's not there, and sits in a fucking chair and update, quote unquote, updates the bracket, right? What are they doing? Because the entire time we're getting run over by the top players. I can't tell you how many tournaments I've been to at Snag, at what the East Stroudsburg ones that change their name every other week and what day of the week they're doing it, where I'd have to wait, for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half for their top level player to come, because the top level players have them over a fucking barrel because they need people for their tournament. So like, I'm at a Snag, I get there early, I have to wait 45 minutes for my opponent to show up, and I get seated at the bottom because I'm new and they're, number 3 seed, and I get blown out first game. And I'm like, what? Why am I even coming here? It provides no benefit to me.
Exactly, and that's the real crux of it, is that Smash provides, like, competitive Super Smash Bros. Provides no benefit to anyone.
No one is getting benefit, yeah.
The tournament organizers aren't making money, and they're not even getting gratitude. Apparently, that's a big deal to them. The competitors are having a terrible experience across the board, except for the top players that are winning every week, and they're just taking everyone's money. So what are you so concerned about the scene dying for?
And then
it seems like it would be a net benefit to society.
What's even worse, on top of all that, as far as like the game goes, the scene is rife with pedophiles and sexual predators. So on top of this, we have another story. Let me hit you with this one. This is my, I hate to say it, favorite one because it's not good or happy, but so there was a guy who I'm going to say his name because fuck him, he's a piece of shit. MVP. His name was MVP.
Yeah, Marcus Malik, I believe, was his full name.
Yeah, he made a twit longer of his own volition, and there was screenshots posted, and his thing. He literally said in his twit longer, "I admit and take accountability for what I've done." And what he did was, he was 22 or 23, and he was dating like a 15 or 16-year-old, and he'd asked her for nude pictures, and there's like pictures in there from her saying like, "I'm uncomfortable because he's like." Because people make fun of us about the age gap in our relationship. He tells me to ignore them. He did ask her for nude pictures, and I almost like can't get it out. It's like so insane to me. So I bring it up to so he gets banned, right? After this, he gets banned. He's put on the global ban list they had at the time. And I really only think that this came about because they were all like virtue signaling that they were banning predators because Nairo got caught real bad, letting a 16-year-old fucking around with a 16-year-old, and so he got caught, pretty much decisively, and they banned him. And now they're like, oh well, let's just now we have a global ban list, which wouldn't have existed if a top player wasn't involved in a scheme. And then so they started adding people to it. Anyway, he was on it for 8 months, and this tournament, the lab they call it, which is Bears. It's in like Hatboro, PA. It's like 30 minutes north of Philly, 20 minutes and 30 minutes north of Philly, and they unbanned him. And we were kind of close at the time to the area, like to the venue. And so I said, I'm gonna reach out to the guy that runs it. His name is Moosh. On Twitter. This was like an insane thing. I should post along with this, I should post our entire Twitter DMs because he's a fucking psychopath. Actually, let me bring them up right now really quick. I could read some of them verbatim because this guy should also be in jail. I can't believe that he said this stuff so brazenly. Let me find
while you're bringing that up, I just want to make a quick point. The banning of competitors from Smash tournaments is not a sufficient punishment for predation upon youth. We should. This is something that they bring up all the time. The Smash community at large will bring it up. Be like, "Oh, people act like we have a problem with pedophiles, but we banned all those people." It's like I don't. First of all, no, you didn't, as we're about to say. Second of all, that's not enough. There needs to be like prosecutors involved. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You banned them. They're still at large in society, and you know about it, and you've done nothing.
Well,
of real
here's the problem. All of these people have like this weird like Ben Shapiro logic train going through their head. Let me just read some of the stuff. I have it up now. The intro is me saying, okay, I'll bite. What's the info on MVP and Skyza? Because there's actually 2 people involved that they unbanned. I'm not going to talk about Skyza right now, but there is another person. But another one. But he said, oh, you guys don't know the full story. And I said, okay, I'll bite. And he said, did you read his response? Hold on. That'll be good. And I said, yes, I did. And he goes, he said, the girl, you saw that he shared screenshots of a convo where she admits to catfishing him. And now this is the part where I was like, this guy is a mental case because he said that she's catfishing him. What happened was she was 16-year-old and he asked her for nudes. And so she sent him like pictures of another girl because she didn't want to. And they're like, oh, she's catfishing him. And then this one goes, he thought she was turning 17. And I literally just posted a clip. The first thing I said after he said all this was a screenshot of his Twitlonger, and where I go, he said she was turning 17, which is 16. And then he said he reluctantly gave her a chance, which was like, is still giving her a chance. And then this guy, this is his response. This is at Moosh Damoosh, MOOSHDAMOOSH, the co-owner of the lab and the runner of Bears. He said, yeah, bro, he's still not breaking any laws. That's what this guy said to me. And he said he learned about her age after agreeing to a relationship with her. I'm thinking in my head, why not just break up? I said, he shows a lack of morality, bad character traits. He's tried to get in a relationship with a 16-year-old. You want that kind of person at your tournament. And he said, we don't discriminate any person or group because they have poor character traits. Them coming to compete in our esports event have nothing to do with his personal life. And I was like, why not? And so this goes back and forth. And he goes, what did I say? I said, we need to nip this kind of stuff in the bud. I was like, he pursued a relationship with a girl 5 to 6 years younger than him. Like, that should be taken into consideration. He's like, I'm not getting into personal beliefs on morality. I'm looking at what he did and didn't do. And then he made some fucking horrible analogy about playing soccer. And like, he said, like, let me read this because it's so insane. I can't believe it's like so crazy that this person is arguing this way. He said, let's say you're in a soccer league. There's a guy on the other team who you knew had a questionable relationship with someone. You then go to the owner of that sports complex and tell them about the personal bit of info. Do you expect that owner to ban the player on the other team because you don't like what he did and you felt it was wrong? I was like, if that questionable info is that he tried dating someone when she was 15, who was 15 when he was 22, then yes, I would tell them. I'm telling you right now. Why do you think I would do something different? That's literally what I'm doing. Like, it's so fucking
Yeah.
stupid. I was like, I don't care about if I said I don't care how the owner felt, I would quit the league. Like, he goes, great, do that then. Nobody's making you come to the lab. And I said, okay, I don't want to come. I'm trying to raise awareness that people are pursuing a relationship with 15, 16-year-old girls and they're attending your tournaments. And then at some point he goes, she came to him. And I was like, don't victim blame. She's 15. He goes, she lied and said she was 17. I said, she said turning 17. I was like, I don't care if she lied. She's still just a young girl. He goes, did you help her file a police report since she was being abused? I was like, he goes, you care so much, you did this for her? I was like, I don't know who this person is. I was like, the only way I can help is by trying to keep this guy out of your tournament. And he goes, she doesn't come in the lab. Like, and I go, sure, but he does. And then he goes home and tries to get in a relationship with a 16-year-old, and you stick up for him. And then
truly despicable.
And then he goes, I'm telling you, I'm not banning him. And I said, I'm asking you to reconsider. And then we're getting into a bigger argument. And then hold on, let me find this. He's horrible at arguing. It's a lot of this going back and forth. He goes, he was banned for 8 months. He wasn't permitted in Discords or to enter online. He was banned and did some time. How much longer do we ban him? I said, Smash players are not arbiters of justice. His actions are heinous. I would be fine with a permanent or indefinite ban. There's been no recourse, no rehabilitation, nor should we be expected to. A ban on him makes the area safer, and you simply lose one person. Shouldn't we promote having people in the scene who simply do not have these characteristics? He said, these are all your personal opinion. What a fucking sick fuck. This guy owns this tournament. And this is like what I'm talking about. I'm doing my best. These people villainize me. I could name 99% of the Smash community I've been involved with that does not like me. And I'm doing this kind of stuff. That's not because I don't get back on my main page and say, I just got in a big argument with Moosh and he's a fucking clown. Actually, I think I might have done something like that, and they all stuck up for him anyway. They go, oh, you know why? Because they go, he's a TO. He does way more for the scene than you do. Yeah, way more.
Predators finding prey. It's truly insane that you could be like, oh, it's not illegal.
Yeah.
So he could do whatever he wants. It's like, well, how about you have some integrity and you stand up for some kind of beliefs? Because apparently the only thing that matters to TOs is money. That's all they fucking care about. That's it.
Yeah.
They could care less about the safety of the player base. I remember I was helping to run a tournament, and it was shortly after the tournament in Florida got a mass shooting event, a Madden tournament.
Yeah.
So in order to show or demonstrate or pretend, I would say, that they're doing something about it, they had a guy I know who was just a competitor, wasn't paid or anything or trained to do this. He would search people's bags once they got to the tournament. It's like just opening backpacks looking for guns, I guess, as if it's gonna stop absolutely anything. If someone's going to shoot up your tournament, they're not going to open their bag for you. They're just going to pull out the gun.
Yeah. Why would he not just have it somewhere else, right? If they know this is happening, he would just leave. He's like, oh, there's a bag check. He just wouldn't come in.
Yeah, it's a complete farce. And also, they were able to get pretty far into the building before they reached the bag check part. It's in a mall, so you're really not stopping anything at all. It's a complete farce. Like, they just wanted to. But what the owner of that tournament series said to me is that he wanted to fake it till he makes it. He didn't say it in the context of this, but it's what he does about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I've recently, same person, and I'll say his name, is Ben Lathan. He said that he doesn't think that children should be banned from tournaments or restrict entry, not banned per se, but you should not allow children to attend tournaments, in my opinion. And Ben Lathan disagrees with that. And Ben, you're a fucking idiot. Like, why should children be allowed to go to tournaments? Why?
I mean, we've already exactly the scene is best in a position where we should completely start over because, hold on one second. I was like, it's better off burning it down and starting over because you have people like that say they should be allowed in the scene. It's like no one's taking actual steps. He's a prominent TO in the area. He's taking no steps to forward this. So let me just real quick double back and touch on the end of the Moosh thing. We get in a little bit of a conversation for a little bit while longer. I say, my final line was that no one in this scene is really equipped for this. So we should just refrain from making these decisions and about allowing them back and err on the side of caution. I said, we don't like he admitted to doing these things, right? We know that. We're not psychiatrists, we're not rehabilitators in any way. I was like, good for him if he does get better. You still should never allow him back in the Smash scene. I think that, like, you know, Jerry Sandusky raped a bunch of kids at Penn State, and if he serves 30 years in prison, he's not going to get a job back as a defensive coordinator. Okay, they're going to say go do some fucking basket weaving. All right, you're not allowed back here. Right? He may be rehabilitated. Right? He may be better, but they're still going to say like you lost this opportunity. And I think that like it's so weird that so what I'm going to get into is going to blow your mind. But so he's allowed back. MVP is allowed at these tournaments. After this conversation, Moosh blocked me on Twitter. And then so what we did was me and two of my pals, I made t-shirts. I took all this stuff. This is all readily available online. I went on MVP's Twitter. It said that he was in the group NPT, which is Ben Layson's group. No pause tournaments, NPT. He's in their thing. It still said that he was in their group on Twitter. So I took his picture that he had on Twitter, put it on the front of a shirt. I went to his Twitlonger. I put 2 lines above and below his shirt. The one that said, I admit and accept responsibility, and I said yes to someone I shouldn't have. It said above and below his face. On the back, it said like NPT, and it had like his Twitter banner. Literally everything I just took from his Twitter. It took me 10 minutes. I made a t-shirt for all 3 of us. We went and protested and being allowed back to the tournament. And you want to hear what these motherfuckers did? They came up to us, and they said, someone from NPT doesn't like that you're wearing their gear, because it said like NPT MVP on the back or whatever, had a picture of like their logo because he was in the group on Twitter. And they said, and they want you to take them off. You can't wear those shirts here. And we argued with them, and they said they kicked us out. They eventually kicked us out of the tournament. I will admit that we got a little rowdy. We were mostly just hovering around MVP with these on and sort of like letting it brew. And then at one point, we got in his face a little bit, and we said, like, you should leave and stuff like that. And then people came up to us, and we got kicked out. He was allowed to stay at this point, a known predator who dated a 15, 16-year-old when he was around 22, 23, asked her for nude pictures, allowed at the tournament. We got kicked out for protesting it. And then we went back to their car. They had shirts. I put mine on inside out. We came back. They wouldn't let us back in. They wouldn't refund us our money. And then Moosh, who was not there, shows up, and he says, I'm the owner. I had to leave my family to come here. Why couldn't we just talk on DMs? I said, you blocked me. And then we get into it again outside. He said, we're going to call the police. I was like, fucking call them. We've done nothing wrong. You're kicking us out. We're outside of your venue right now. We're allowed to stand out here on the block. And like, we also like, what are you going to say? They're protesting a known predator, and we don't want them in our building. You're fine doing that. Like you're also not doing anything illegal. I just find it absolutely fucking insane that this happened publicly, and I am still banned from that tournament, and so are the people that went with me, and he is allowed. He is allowed at that tournament to this day, and I am banned. And that's the thing. Like it's clearly just a personal beef. This man is not enforcing a ban on a guy who is taking advantage of young women. And he is enforcing a ban on me for bringing attention to it. And so I actually got... and then NPT, this is where I lost a lot of respect for them. I went online and we made a big deal about this. And so after this happened, I did not speak to them. They messaged me on Twitter and said, VR Cafe and NPT have made the decision to ban you from our events effective immediately. We take the allegations very seriously and are launching an investigation into what happened at the lab last night. This was 6/18/2021. He put the date. Alleged actions displayed intentional harm to attendees of our shared community. That's what they're saying this is. They said, temporary 4-week ban. I tried to appeal it with them or whatever. They're like, yeah, let's set a date to talk. Here's the final part. We talk a little bit in DMs. I still have all these. I can prove all this. They said, we want to hear all 3, blah, blah, blah. I said, for sure, I'd cooperate. Great. Let's talk sometime late this week or early next week. This is in July of 2021. I said, get at me when you're ready to yak. And he said, what times are you free this week? I said, anytime. He's never messaged me since then. This is in July 2021, almost 2 years ago. They have never spoken about
farce. It's a complete farce.
It is, yeah.
You notice how they speak and like, allegations. They use all these words they think make them seem professional, but their actions are completely unprofessional and downright detrimental to the community they claim to protect.
Yeah.
They want to protect these attendees from this perceived harm, but they're not protecting anyone from actual harm that these attendees that they continue to allow are perpetuating and
Yeah.
continue to perpetuate to this day.
And we have all this evidence, and it's so crazy because like people will like all of the talking points that you get, and like this is one of the funny ones. So that they made like a thing online about I would say the protests that we conducted allegedly promoted ideas that MPTs not stand for, blah blah blah, dumb shit like that. But the thing that was like so crazy to me was at one point one of the guys, oh crap, what's his name? Let me find this really quick. Melon. You remember Melon? He was like kind of good at the game for a little bit. He was like a guy there. So so at one point Tyus said, so we were again, after all of this, like I think that you would understand if we were a little bit upset about the whole thing. So we would go out about it, maybe not in a perfect way, but they NPT made a tweet, oh, we have a tournament coming in tomorrow. And one of the guys with me there said, hey, sorry for misrepresenting your organization at Bears today. You should really check out this guy. And they did at MVP. He has your logo on display. I don't know if that's up to your standard because they say we weren't up to their standard and we got booted out, right? I thought it was very tongue-in-cheek, obviously, but not like, he didn't say like, hey, fuck you guys, like nothing like that, right? And Melon, who's again on their side, right? It's always been us versus them. He's on their side, said, even if this is for the cause of trying to enforce this less predatory behavior in the scene, this isn't the way to do it. I was like, what do you mean? And then this is the part that this is like when I'm telling you it's us versus them. I have like literal proof right here. He goes, my friend Tyus goes, what is the right way then? Today we talked to Moosh and he said to DM them. Treebone did that last week and got blocked. Talked today and got literally nowhere with them. So what method should we try next? And he goes, from the sound of it, he, as in me, probably got way too aggressive in his wording and forced Moosh's hand into a block instead of properly discussing things. If you really want to talk appropriately about it, formally ask for a roundtable video chat or in real life meetup and do it official and proper. Otherwise, being loud and blunt will only make you look worse, despite good intentions. He goes, believe me, I get it. I don't want to allow predators back into a scene we're fighting to keep alive for all ages, but goddamn, that was childish, he said. And then, so this is my response. So this is what I'm saying. Like, look at all the assumptions he's making about me. I got too aggressive in my wording. I just read you everything I said to Moosh. I was completely straightforward. He was out of his fucking mind. And I said, who's fighting? Not you. You weren't there, and you're coming at us for being childish instead of coming at the predators, just like everyone else. I was kicked out of Bears tonight for calling attention to a predator who was defended vehemently. I can send you all DMs, but I shouldn't have to. I was polite, professional, and dignified. You attack my character with no proof or reason. Stop defending predatory behavior. You truly feel that we're being too aggressive in our cause of removing that behavior. He never responded.
Yeah, so, for the record, Melon originates, in my mind, from Snag, which, as we've gone over before, was owned by a convicted sexual predator. He like tortured a girl sexually for like a decade. The story's completely insane.
So like this stuff is crazy. Wawa Peach, one of the people that runs like Bears with him, is like, we have literal facts and documentations, but fuck the facts, bro. Let's quote retweet instead. It's always the losers from nowhere that has so much to say. This is what they're saying to us, saying like, fuck Bears, don't go. They're letting predators back in. It's so mental, dude. Like, and the TOs get all the things. I think like one of the people, I think Beast even at one point said like, oh, you know, like, get off Moosh's dick. He does so much for this community. And I'm like, no, he does not. He literally couldn't even stop. He allowed a predator back in. It's not even like if you're blasé and you're like, just don't take him off the ban list, you would have been better. But he actively said you're allowed back.
Yeah, he continues to allow him
back.
To...
He's allowed at Bears, and I am not. And I've never tried to get a 16-year-old girl to send me nude pictures, and he has. So, you know, I try and sometimes separate the child predation from Smash, but you can't. It is inherent in Smash. Everyone in there is doing nothing about it. They would much rather run a tournament and then complain about not getting enough credit than they would to stop people from coming in. I said at the very least, like should we not, if we're a community, we're not just a Smash community. We are a community. We don't have to follow the rule of the law. We could make our own, and our own should be, if you try this shit, you are out. No questions asked. Why are we giving second chances to these people? I don't understand. Not everyone deserves a second chance. You deserve a second chance if maybe you rage and you knock over your chair and you accidentally hit someone with it, okay? You deserve a second chance for that. You don't deserve a second chance if you're dating a 16-year-old girl online, you ask her for nude pictures. I just don't fucking get it. It should be a hard cutoff. This person should have no friends. They should never be seen in the Smash community again. Yet they were welcomed back with open arms when we got kicked out for protesting it. And they say TOs don't get enough credit. It's like, this is everywhere we fucking go. It's all over.
Yeah,
it's pervasive.
entire scene. It's systemic in the same way that police racism is systemic in America. It's a huge problem that pervades the entire scene from top to bottom. And we see it at every level. It needs to be stopped, and they do nothing to stop it. They just pretend it doesn't exist.
The problem is that everyone in Smash is...
Not every cop is this bad. Not every TO allows predators at their tournament. Well, I could say that's true. I never allowed predators in my tournament. As soon as I found out about any of this shit, I immediately stopped running tournaments. The day I stopped running tournaments was the day that all this shit came out.
Yeah.
All the huge shit that happened where it's all over Twitter and the internet, like, oh, there's fucking all these, like, the whole Me Too movement of Smash Brothers was like, okay, I'm not running tournaments anymore. I can't be around any of these fucking people.
No.
I don't want any of these people in my fucking house. And MVP and Skies both came to Cat Sanctuary, and if I ever see them again, I'm gonna have to fucking say something to them. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what did you do to the people that come to my tournament?
Well, because you have integrity, and there's a huge lack of that in the Smash community. Everyone is so terminally online. They would rather just get like they only, again, like Wawa Peach that was posting that, Moosh that was arguing with me on Twitter, NPT, who's that guy just said, Melon. It's all because they know that their friends are gonna, they all have likes on their posts and I have none because I have 100 followers and all I post on Twitter is dumb jokes and talking about video games in my reviews, and all they do is they're better than me at Smash Bros, so people like them more. Everyone that I've met is just better than me at the game, and so they have a bigger following. And since I was just not very good at it, I never got, I wouldn't get far, so people didn't respect my opinion, which is a psychotic thing. But that's really all it is. If you're good enough at the game, that's all they care about, and you could do whatever you want. And they like, there's still people doing hashtag free Nairo and stuff like that. These people have no morals. They have nothing they stand up for. They don't have a fucking ounce of integrity. They'll do anything to be better at the game, and that includes making the scene actively worse. And now this is, okay, let's get off of this subject for a little bit, because it's a horrible, horrible thing that's happening, but that's like so far removed from what I'm talking about. I've said, you have NPT, right? You're Ben. You own NPT. You have a bunch of people and everything. You have Beast, who is a very talented player. I don't really like him as a person. We don't get along. We're back and forth. It's whatever. But we don't talk anymore. This is back when I was in it. But he's a talented player. He routinely will get high placings at tournaments. He's talented at what he does. And I've always said, like, a very simple way, right? Instead of him, all he does at tournaments is gets extremely high and then beats everyone there, right? And I said, if you're NPT, if you actually want to make a community, which none of them do, they just get up on their soapbox and say that after I start causing a fuss. They say, you're ruining the community. Why not have him be an ambassador? I said you could do this in two different ways. One, have him like legit pair off with someone who's like new and upcoming and like mentor them a little bit and say, you should do this at your games, watch their games, help them make a better player. But besides being a better player, why not have him be the face of NPT by walk around, like I said earlier. You see a new person come in, hey man, this is your first time here? Yeah, play a set with me on this thing. And then he stands up after I say, hey, someone play against the new guy. Let him get a couple of games, get warmed up, right? But what happens is, how many times have you been to a tournament where there's just like, one friendly setup? The last time I was at NPT before I got banned, first of all, another fucking psychopath in the community, Slate Warrior, tried to fight me. He's still allowed to go tournaments. Again, they act like I'm this bad person. We went to a tournament. He misinputted a move. He got killed for it. He lost the set. He came over and said, I almost had him. And I said, it looked like you got the shit kicked out of you. And then he tried to fight me. He said, let's go in the parking lot, blah, blah, all that dumb shit. He's puffing his chest out. And then later on, the same tournament, he was on the friendly setup. And he was on it for like an hour. And someone was like, oh, can we play friendlies? And he's like, oh, I'm doing a money match. And he just played money matches on it all night after he got it kicked out of the tournament, like after he lost the tournament. And so like no one could play on it. Because it's like you either have to step in on some guy who's clearly unhinged, or you have to be like, oh, I want to play a money match, which is another barrier of entry to play. So all these tournaments are like anti-newcomer every fucking step of the way. You have to like force your way in, or you have to like do it against, like, I mean, imagine you're coming here as a child, you're 14 or 15 or 13 or something like that, a new one comes in, you come with your parent and you just don't know what to do. No one's guiding you. It's dark for some reason in these places sometimes. Like at NPT, the lights were off and they were playing trap music, and you go and it's dark, and like, what do you do? Who do you talk to? Like, Beast is literally like smoking weed outside the venue. And then no one, like, Ben's never doing anything. He's like walking around looking at the stream setup. It's not like he's running. They get on a microphone. They go, these two people play on stream too. It's like, okay, that's the very basic necessity of running a tournament. Yes, you are a tournament organizer. This is your job. Do it better, please. So there's no like, all the people I've met through Smash that are cool has gone from me like being socially outward and saying like, hey, what's up? Who do you play? You do this, blah, 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 and like having to go out of your way to do that. And I said, if they really want to retain people, make it easier for them. He said that they had a list of 150 and we get 10 per tournament because you never see them again. You don't know what they look like. You don't know who they play. You don't know anything about them because they come in, they lose, and then Beast takes their money and you fucking move on with your life. And all they care about is farming interactions on Twitter and allowing predators back to their fucking tournaments.
Yeah, even without the rampant pedophilia, I don't think that children should be permitted at Smash tournaments because they're all degenerate gamblers that only want to take everyone else's money.
Oh, yeah.
All they ever do is they money match people, which, if you don't know what a money match is for the audience, a money match is where I sit down at a setup and I put $5 next to me. And so someone else will come up to me and say, are you money matching for that? And then they'll say, yeah. They'll sit next to me. We'll play a set. Winner of the set takes $5. So you're betting against other people. You know, who I could beat anyone that walks up to me. I'll bet $5 I could beat anybody that walks up to me. And I've gone to tournaments where, like majors, where it's every single setup is taken up by money matches. Majors. I went to Big House, and every setup that you could see was money matches. So if you're a new player and you don't have money like that, or you're not confident in your ability, you're a up and comer, you don't want to bet money just to play the game. You shouldn't be charged to play, but yet you are. There's nowhere for you to play. You have to pay to play. Even if you just want to practice, there's no opportunity to do so. You have to pay to play anyone at all.
Yeah, that goes back to before. Like,
you paid like $80 just for the venue fee for the tournament, plus the entry fee for the bracket itself. All this bullshit. It's completely insane. And when they're not money matching, it's like during top 8. First of all, they shut down a lot of the other setups at these majors so that they can get more people into the crowd to watch top 8, which is insane. But they do that. And then everyone in the crowd is doing what they call side bets, where they bet on who's going to win the game that's currently being played in top 8. So they're all just gambling, like, excessively. It's not a good environment for children, with the pedophilia aside.
Yeah, it's like, still, yeah, no, you're exactly right. And then on top of that too, everything. It feels so fake because none of the, like, even the way that they force more people into the crowd and stuff like that. The crowd will like try, and I always see people running around the crowd trying to, like, obviously side bet, but then also like start chants. But the chants are like what was popular a month ago or something like that. No one's trying to like be unique or fun, or it's not like something that comes about naturally, or like, it's not like a soccer match where they have like these cool chants. It's just like, some dumb shit that they're trying to like be cool. They're trying to like get noticed for it instead of like just actually have a good time, like, organically. And then, so again, you're right. At when you get to top 8, if someone's just there to watch, or a little kid, not only are you like surrounded by all these people that are just like walking up and down the aisles, like aggressively gambling. There's no setups to play on now, and the entire like thing has degenerated into everyone's watching these people play. And it's not even like, how are you going to have an opinion about if it's like some, if you're watching and it's like, top 32 at this point, it's like some guy you've never heard of against like some guy that's a little bit more well-known. How are you going to have an opinion on it? It's like, unless you're currently just watching and like, you're like, oh, that guy's doing well with this character, blah, blah, you form it like in the moment. So like it's so formulated at that point where it's just like, they're making you watch this thing, but you don't know who these players are. And the casters, again, are doing the same thing too, where they're trying to make like funny jokes. Someone will just be on there and he's trying to, did this maneuver. It was like this. They're making analogies like they're fucking Little Wayne or something. No one's actually trying to like provide a good environment. Again, I remember going to majors too, the same way. I remember being a Frostbite with like 2,000 attendees, and the main stage, for some reason, it's 6 in the afternoon or something, and all the fucking lights are off except for like purple, blue, and red like glowing lights nearby. I'm like, why is it pitch dark in here? We're not at a fucking club. We're at a Smash Brothers tournament. Turn the lights on. I don't get it. And then so that
dark, you can't tell who's getting molested in the corner.
yeah, and so like it's just it's just so crazy because the entire scene evolves around like being cheapskates, getting money, and who's the best at the game, and like everything else falls to the wayside, and everything else is a byproduct of that, like the casting and all this, and they all have their cliques, and you can't get into casting if you haven't been doing it already, and a bunch of dumb bullshit like that. So the problem is there are good people there, but again they're heavily. The most fun I've ever had at tournaments was when I found a couple of cool people to hang out with. It has never has anything to do with the game because the people aren't fun. The game isn't fun itself. You have to run your own bracket, or you stand, or even at like we went to Super Smash Con, which I love, but we went to Super Smash Con in like last year, and I remember my bracket like was being run, and you just like there was so many people at Smash Con that there's like 30 people in our pool or whatever, and there's, I don't know, 8 setups or something, maybe less, and we're all just like standing there waiting for your name to get called. But you can't hear anything because it's extremely loud, and the person calling out is just some person with a clipboard again, or like putting it on Smash GG on their phone, and they're like nervous because they don't like, I don't know who they're getting to run this. It's just people. And so you're just like standing next to them, like nervously, like waiting for your name to be heard because you don't want to miss your match and get DQ'd. And so it's like none of it is like fun or simple or run well in any way. They focus on like putting on a good stream because they want, like, the higher their numbers, the higher their dopamine levels go up, and they can say they have a good tournament because they had 15,000 people on their Twitch stream. Who gives a fuck? We have people here that are having a horrible experience because the tournament sucks. Oh, and here's another one. This is another thing I'm going to add in as a tidbit. When we went to SmashCon, so again, I'm older. I was with 2 people, the same ones I protested the thing with. We were at SmashCon this last year, 2022, and we bought some beer. We were drinking in our apartment, just the 3 of us, or in our hotel room. And the hotel room next door was Aaron and Cola from Moist Esports. They're pretty talented at the game, and they must have heard us or something, or we had the door open, or they like came over. And they were like, oh, can we get a beer? And I checked their IDs. And Cola was like 19 or 20. And I was like, yeah, you have to leave. And I literally just made him leave. And I was like, it's not hard to not take advantage of young people. I don't understand. Because most people will be like, oh man, he's like a higher level player. He was like top. He might have been top 8 in the tournament. He's like a higher up at that tournament. And like, most people that are in the scene will be like, oh, I want to be my friend. I'm going to give it to him. We're just having a good time, right? And I was like, I don't fucking care. I literally checked his ID, and he was too young, and I was like, let's leave. And they came back the next night and tried to do the same thing. And I was like, it's just so... And I think they were like drunk too, so they must have got it from somewhere. But I was like, yeah, just leave. We just like close the door.
Yeah, and most of that Me Too movement was, most of it had to do with alcohol. There was always like, oh, I was drinking, and then I was in the bathroom with this guy, and he took advantage of me. It's like, a lot of it had to do with drinking, and they, for some reason, feel like they're opposed to just no alcohol at the tournament. Instead, I've seen tournaments advertise that, oh yeah, we're having this in a bar and you could drink.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're inviting these problems and making no effort to stop them. They're doing the opposite. It's insane.
Yeah, it's so simple to do. Like I could have just been like, oh yeah, I want to be a cool guy and hand it out. I literally checked their IDs, and I was like, yeah, you can't have one, and also you should leave because we're all 21 and drinking. And he did, and it was fine. But it's like it's so like right there, right? It's so easy for them. They're getting into a bad situation. We could have all got drunk. They might have invited us over, right? And now you're just a bunch of people like, and that's just a horrible thing. You know what I mean? They're unsupervised in a hotel room. So are we. A bunch of drinking, and it's just like that's just a fucking recipe for disaster if you don't know these people, right? And this is where these situations take place. And so this is why I keep championing it, because I can fucking back up my word, and I have people that can see this. Like Aaron could fucking tell you that I checked their fucking IDs. It's the easiest thing in the world. I just don't hand out beer to every fucking dude because he's the next door neighbor in my hotel room. I don't give a shit. It's just so simple to do it, and no one does. And that's why, like, and I'm pioneering it, and they still want to, people want to try and drag me. He wants to say, Mellon goes, oh, you did it too aggressively. I'm like, oh, really? Are you going to check their IDs when they come to your fucking thing? I don't think so. So it's like, you have to take this stand. You have to have integrity, and they don't want to fucking do it. So it's just such a bad community, and there's no one that has our ideas and our integrity that wants to make it better. And I don't think they should. You know how hard it would be to be the lone tournament that's trying to be better than all the other tournaments as far as like not allowing horrible people to come to you. You wouldn't even have a fucking people allowed to come there because you have to ban all the top players for being sexual predators. So it's just, it shouldn't exist. The thing should exist. You should all realize right now, TOs, when you're saying, oh, it's not financially viable, then quit. You should all quit.
Yeah, go do something of value with your life.
Yeah, Smash is dead.
Let these kids that would have come to your tournament go. People always talk about the benefits of being in the Smash community. It's like, oh, they form community. They learn social skills, which isn't true because no one has social skills to teach them. They learn what it's like to lose. They learn what it's like to win after you've gotten better at something. You could do all that with after-school activities like sports.
Yeah.
And the main complaint people bring up with that is, oh, well, that costs money. You have to pay for the jersey and the equipment and all that. Well, if you want to go to a Smash tournament, it costs money for that too, because people are going to try to rob you of your money. They're going to challenge you to money matches when they know that you're not good enough to beat them. They're going to do it on purpose. I've seen it happen.
Also,
they're going to take advantage of you as much as they can.
Absolutely. They do it. They'll gouge you for money because they know they're better than you. They don't care. And another thing is a lot of younger people will then start going to nationals, bigger tournaments. Like they'll travel for them. I don't know how they're getting permission from their parents. The parents are definitely at fault here as well. But I've gone to tournaments for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds are there. And there's like, the last time we went to Frostbite in like 2018, 2019, there was a bar. Like you would go out of the venue and there was like one corridor barrier and then there was a bar and there's a ton of drunk people and you could just walk around with it. And there's like these young kids there. I would see people with their parents there. And so, but sometimes they get there without that supervision. So they just go with their friend in a hotel room and they're surrounded by people that are all drinking and it's a fucking nightmare. No one here at the tournament cares about this, and also none of them are qualified to be able to take care of this. So you should just not have alcohol anywhere near it. And you should have people, like, you have all these TOs, you don't have enough people, you have to fucking subsidize help to run each bracket pool because you don't have enough people. And then so they definitely don't have enough people to be like chaperoning the entire event, so they don't fucking care because they're off doing the same things as well. They're not even TOing. You know that they're also just playing and talking to top players because they're extremely vain and just doing that too. So there's no hope for the Smash community at this point.
Absolutely none. And there are a lot of children and underage people that go to these tournaments. I've seen them in the hotels at these majors, like finding out that, oh, I can't check in for my hotel because I'm under 18. First of all, they didn't even know that before they got, which is a problem by itself. But then they have to find someone else that they know that's 18 to go and pretend to be their guardian so that they could get into their fucking hotel. These kids are coming to these tournaments by themselves. I don't know either how their parents are letting them get away with this. It's truly insane, and it's definitely the fault of the parents to some extent. But you could just not allow these opportunities to exist in the first place if you're one of these TOs by just quitting. Just quit.
Yeah, just don't do it. Again, if you're going to fucking complain and say it's a thankless job, good. You're volunteering to do it. If you're not going to take it all on your shoulders and say, I'm going to run a good tournament and I'm also going to protect the children that come here and I'm also going to facilitate a happy and peaceful and welcoming community, and you can't handle all that because you would rather because you're not making enough money, then don't fucking do it. I didn't ask you to do this. And if you can't handle it, then quit now. Because we need people who can handle it.
Please stop doing it if you're not willing to make the hard decisions that would make your tournament probably worse in the short term, but make the scene better in the long term.
Mm-hmm. That's my takeaway for the entire thing. TOs need to be doing more. You have to be, if you want a good community, you have to facilitate it, and part of that is to make those hard decisions to do things again that are like not in the zeitgeist right now of tournaments, like telling people no and kicking out bad people and taking a firm stance on it and maybe making some enemies along the way. And also, like I said before, to actively take an interest in the younger people and look out for their safety. So if you're not willing to do all that, then you're not ready to be in this scene, and you need to be out of it.
Yeah, and
I
if there are any parents out there listening to this, don't allow your children to go to Smash tournaments. It's a terrible, terrible scene. It's filled with rampant systemic pedophilia and degenerate gambling, and it has a culture of obdurate complacency, and it needs to stop. So just don't allow your children to go to it. And if you're an adult, don't go to it either.
Yeah, it's not worth
There's
it.
no benefit.
There's literally no benefit. You're paying a ton of money. You're going to get 2 to 3 games out of it. It's going to be run poorly. You're not going to play well because you're not going to get to warm up because there's no warm up sets. You're going to be nervous because your TOs are going to be being run by just a fucking guy in your pool with you. And then you're going to play bad. You're going to feel horrible. And then you're just going to walk around a fucking venue with a bunch of anime porn being sold and girls with their tits hanging out as well. Oh, that's another thing. We didn't even get to touch on this yet. Did you see that controversy with the whole Smash Summit thing recently?
No.
Oh,
What happened?
man. So there's a girl, I can't remember her name, but I would have to look it up. But there was a Smash Summit incentive. I actually have no idea how Smash Summit works, but apparently you could like pay for votes to get people you want into the thing. And there was a girl who was saying, if you send me, she was like affiliated with one of the people trying to get in. She said, if you send me proof that you paid for this vote or whatever, like your receipt, I'll give you like a free titty picker subscription to my OnlyFans or whatever. And they said like she showed like a DM where she was like checking IDs or something like that. And someone just brought up a good point. Like, this is a fucking insane thing to have hand in hand with the Smash community. Like, one of the biggest tournaments, like Summit, where it's like an invitational where they get like all the best people there and it's like player voted and player funded for the prize and all this dumb shit. And then she's like, I will give you, like, she's a sex worker and she's completely just like selling off her sex work for Summit votes. And it's like, this fucking game is for young people. You can't be doing this type of shit. And I don't understand how she hasn't been kicked out of the community. They're like, because now they're fucking ham-fisting the entire sex workers are workers thing, and people are like defending her. I was like, not here, they're not, okay? Not in this community, they're not. When this game is fucking
Yeah,
centered around children.
yeah. The game is explicitly marketed toward children. That's the market that Nintendo is aiming for when they make Super Smash Brothers. That's who it's for. That's what every video game is for, by the way. They're all marketed toward children. Most music, most movies, almost everything is marketed toward children. That's why we try to be so defensive about these things and keep children safe and not allow like sex workers to come into these spaces because most things are marketed toward children.
Yeah,
This especially.
this is especially it's proven. Like, everyone who's not a child that plays it is taking over a kid's game. You are not the intended demographic for this, and that's why like Nintendo doesn't support it, because they just want it to be like a fun party game, and everyone puts a bunch of rules in it and shit. But again, just think of how crazy that is. Imagine, like, it's still like, imagine for, I can't even think of a thing like like imagine like Angelina Jolie when she was promoting Tomb Raider was like, yeah, if you send me a picture that you bought a movie ticket stub, you can get a picture of my tits. That's fucking psychotic. Okay, and I support. I don't even know if I support sex work. I don't even want to get into it right now. But the fact that she's sending naked pictures of herself to people for Summit votes into Smash Brothers is insane. She should not be allowed in the community. This is in a community that is already proven for years and years, time and time again, to be rampant and filled with sexual predators, sexual deviants. This entire thing is around. It has pedophilia in it. You cannot be doing stuff like this. It is so deranged. Is so immature, and it's just so irresponsible. You can't be doing that. And so that's like the most recent thing. And people are like defending her because they want to defend sex workers. It's all just another fucking virtue signaling thing. I don't care anything about the sex worker argument. You cannot be selling off. I don't care if they're of legal age, right? There's like, she's just giving out pics like for Summit votes. It's just so crazy, right? And anyone that thinks otherwise, like, you're just flat out wrong. You cannot defend this. It's crazy to me. And I'll probably get flack for that too.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's insane. You want Nintendo to support the tournaments, but this is how you fund the tournaments and fund the people going to the tournaments. Like, Nintendo rightfully should not be involved. I think they never should have got involved in the first place. I think, in hindsight, they were 100% correct to always try to block tournaments from existing. Remember, at Evo, they would be like, "You can't stream this."
Yeah.
They should they should go back to that position, and they should stop all of that. Maybe they knew about Evo, because wasn't Mr. Wizard like a sexual predator of some
I'm probably,
capacity?
dude. I'm ready to just say he is with no proof whatsoever right now.
As I recall, he got kicked out of the company at Evo, and it's run by someone else now, and
He
they
might have,
didn't have
yeah.
Evo for one of the years. So I'm like 99.9% sure that happened. Like that Mr. Wizard, the
Yeah.
the original runner.
So
Uh, yeah,
here's the
the very first result, Google just autofilled it for me. I typed in Mr. Wizard Evo, and the next word that Google autofilled was allegations.
yeah.
So
He's been
it
allocated.
100% happened. He's been allocated, uh, and it's insane. Like
Yeah.
maybe
So
Nintendo's prescient. Maybe they knew.
I'll leave
We should trust them a little bit more.
I'll leave you with this. If there is no money in it for players, there's no money in it for TOs. The tournament experience isn't fun. Tournament organizers don't think they get enough credit, and it's filled with pedophiles and sex workers. Then why does it exist? There's no benefit to anyone. People say that they have fun going to the tournament, but you could just play it at home. You could play it online. You're really having fun traveling to 3 states away and paying $85 to play 5 games with people you don't know in a venue that only serves like fucking fast food garbage. Like you're not. Nothing about this is good. It should be shut down. It's not run well. No one in the scene is making money from it. No one is benefiting from this, so it just should not exist. It doesn't make any sense. The tournament, like, if I get it, like if it's for the love of the game, but it's just filled with awful people. There is no love of the game because people are just doing it for any fucking scrap of money they can get, as far as like winning a tournament or money matches or being a TO or whatever. And so they're doing it for they're doing awful things like with their integrity and their behavior for pennies, and then they're complaining about it. It's like at some point you have to say you guys have to take personal accountability too. The Smash community has brought so much more negative impact than it has positive impact, and I think it needs to be shut down.
Yeah, it should be shut down because it's done nothing of value. It's only made people's lives worse.
Yeah, and people like
Not the
me
point.
who try to get things out. So this is what I have done. Again, I protested a predator going back to a tournament. And you could say I did it the wrong way or whatever the fuck. I protested a predator going back to a tournament. I've been banned from that tournament. He has not been. This expands nationally. This is the attitude they have. They don't care. This is the lesson takeaway from it. Just think about that for a fucking second. The people that are trying to fix it, nothing happens. The people that are running it are all sexual perverts. So, yeah, I think we've said enough. It feels good to get that off my chest. Fuck these bastards.
Yeah, fuck the Smash community.
Zero's a rapist. So is Nairo. So is Ally. They all have been caught out doing bad shit. Those are fucking top players. Blue. It's everywhere. You can name who's that other one? Senpai recently got caught out bad. I mean, it's just fucking everywhere, dude. Everyone, every gender, every age is taking advantage of young people, and it's fucking insane. I don't understand how they didn't shut it down already when that big ordeal came out with it originally.
Yeah, it's truly despicable that I don't think no one's even called the fucking police.
No. So that's
like a
our
single time.
that's our lesson. It can't be fixed. There's too many bad apples in it. It needs to be shut down. We need to cancel Smash. We need to cancel Smash Bros. Just play with your friends. It's way more fun.
Yeah, stop trying to make everything a competition. You're not an esport. You're never going to be an esport.
Mm-hmm.
No one gives a shit about a competition that's like you can have the match in 8 minutes. Like no one's gonna give a fuck. The only way you're gonna bring sponsors in is if you can bring eyes on it for a long period of time, like hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's why games like League of Legends, CS:GO, Dota, those games last a long time. Even StarCraft, which is also 1v1, those games can last a long fucking time. It can be a half an hour for one single game. So you're never gonna get the same thing with fighting games. Fighting games have been out for a very long time, and they have not made it as an esport. None of them have.
No. Yeah, don't worry
Not
about
even Street Fighter.
all these tournaments. They're worried about their fucking stream numbers, all this bullshit, making money. No one's actually doing it for the love of the game, and they get punished for it. So it's over. Cancel that shit. It's fucking done for. We're telling you right now, there's no good to come of it. Burn it all down. Cancel fucking Smash Bros. The tournaments are done. It's over. I'm calling it right now, dude. I'm putting the fucking kibosh on this shit. Fuck Smash, dude. Anything you want to go out on?
Just that I'm thankful that one day every Smasher will be dead.
Yeah, I
Some by
agree.
their own hand, some by others, and too many of old age.
I agree entirely. I would say, actually, what I'm going to end is go watch The Mummy Returns. That shit rules, dude. All right, goodbye, everyone.